Welcome back to the workshop. Today, we are taking on an extreme challenge. A completely destroyed JBL boombox speaker that was found buried deep in the mud. As you can see, the entire chassis is caked in a thick, dried layer of filth. We begin the teardown by using a sharp scraper to carefully pry off the front plastic housing. The mud has practically cemented the pieces together, so we must apply steady, firm pressure to avoid cracking the clips. Next, we grab our screwdriver to loosen the rusted, frozen bolts that lock the massive top handle in place. Every screw hole is packed with dirt, requiring us to clean out the slots before we can even get a grip. We slowly slide the heavy-duty handle off, revealing just how deep the water and mud have penetrated into the speaker's main frame. With the handle removed, we turn our attention to the top control panel. We gently pry off the rubber button interface, exposing the muddy micro switches underneath. Moving to the back of the device, we flip open the heavily soiled rubber flap that protects the charging ports. There are more hidden screws buried in this section, and we must carefully back them out one by one. Now comes the critical moment, splitting the main pressure chamber in half. We wedge our prying tool into the seam, slowly working our way around the circumference. As the two halves separate, 0.3s, a flood of trapped muddy water and debris spills out onto the tray. The interior is a complete disaster zone, and the delicate electronics inside are fully exposed to the elements. The inside of this speaker is in absolute critical condition. We first disconnect the blue lithium-ion battery pack, which is coated in a slimy layer of wet mud. Using tweezers, we carefully unplug the fragile wire harnesses, connecting the motherboard to the drivers. Next, we back out the screws holding the main circuit board and lift it out of its cradle. Now, we focus on the two main speaker drivers. These magnets are incredibly powerful, and they have attracted a lot of metallic debris along with the mud. We unbolt the speaker frames and gently pull the heavy drivers out of the housing. The paper cones are completely waterlogged and torn, meaning we will have to perform a full rebuild on these drivers if we want to hear any sound again. Now that the speaker is completely stripped down, it is time for some deeply satisfying deep cleaning. We submerge the filthy plastic housing pieces into a bath of warm water, mixed with specialized degreaser. Grabbing a stiff bristle brush, we scrub every single crevice, corner, and screw hole. Watch as the thick, caked-on mud instantly dissolves, revealing the original black plastic underneath. We rinse the pieces thoroughly to ensure no grit remains, as even a tiny grain of sand could ruin the airtight seal later on. We repeat this vigorous scrubbing process of the internal brackets, the battery compartment, and the front grille. It takes a lot of time and patience, but getting these parts completely sterile is essential for a factory quality restoration. Moving back to the main outer shell, we need to repair a severe structural defect. There is a massive jag hole blown right through the side of the plastic casing. To fix this, we are using a professional plastic welding kit. We place stainless steel staples across the fracture lines and apply intense heat using our welding iron. The hot metal staples sink deep into the plastic, stitching the broken edges together with incredible strength. Next, we take a piece of scrap donor plastic and use a hot iron to melt it directly over the staples. This fills the void completely and creates a solid, watertight barrier. We smooth out the molten plastic evenly, ensuring the patch bonds perfectly with the original structure. The plastic patch is completely cured and rock hard, but it looks incredibly rough and uneven. We grab our rotary tool with a sanding disc to grind down the excess melted plastic. We carefully follow the original contours of the speaker body, making the patch flush with the surrounding surface. After rough sanding, we switch to a fine grit sandpaper to smooth out any scratches. Once the surface is perfectly prepped, we wipe it down and move to the spray booth. We apply a fresh, even coat of premium matte black paint across the entire shell. The transformation is absolutely mind-blowing. The ugly scar completely vanishes under the paint, making the damaged plastic look like it just rolled off the assembly line. Now we transition to the delicate microelectronics phase. The main motherboard is severely oxidized from muddy water. We lock the board into our helping hands vise and apply high-quality soldering flux to the corroded joints. Using a hot air reworkstation and a fine-tip soldering iron, we carefully reflow the damaged surface mount components. We even replace a faulty capacitor that was causing a dead short. Once the soldering is complete, we drench the board in pure isopropyl alcohol. We use a cotton swab to gently scrub away the sticky flux residue and any remaining oxidation. Cleaning between the tiny pins of the microchips requires absolute precision, but the result is a beautifully revived, factory-clean motherboard. Let's fix those ruined speaker drivers we pulled out earlier. The original paper cones and voice coils are completely rotted out. We use a sharp scalpel to carefully slice away the old, torn surround and cone fabric. Underneath, the magnetic gap is packed with rust and dried mud, which completely seals the voice coil. We use a specialized cleaning tool to scrape out every bit of debris from the tight circular gap. Once the magnet is perfectly clean, we drop in a brand new high-performance voice coil. We shim it to ensure it is perfectly centered. Then apply a strong, flexible speaker adhesive to bond the new cone and rubber surround to the metal basket. This completely rebuilds the driver from scratch. Before we begin reassembling, we must verify that our electrical repairs are 100% stable. We clean the small button control board with alcohol, ensuring the switches click smoothly. Next, we bring out our digital multimeter to test the components. We connect the probes to the main power delivery rails on the motherboard to ensure the short circuit is completely gone. The meter gives us a perfect reading. We then switch over to test the lithium-ion battery pack. We check the voltage output and internal resistance to guarantee it can safely hold a charge and power the speaker under heavy load. Everything checks out perfectly, meaning our electronics are finally ready to rock. It is finally time for the most rewarding part of the project, putting this puzzle back together. We place our beautifully restored motherboard back into its designated slot inside the chassis. We secure it firmly with its mounting screws. Using our tweezers, we carefully route the internal wiring harnesses back to their respective connectors. Each plug snaps into place with a highly reassuring click. We make sure the wires are tucked away neatly, so they won't rattle against the plastic enclosure when the speaker plays deep bass. The rebuilt battery pack is slid back into its housing and locked down. Seeing the clean internals sitting in a spotless chassis is incredibly satisfying after all that hard work. We are now ready to close up the acoustic chamber. We inspect the rubber sealing gasket to ensure it is seated perfectly, then align the top and bottom halves of the inner shell. We press them together firmly, creating an airtight seal that is critical for the speaker's bass performance. We drive the long casing screws back and using a star pattern to ensure even pressure. Next, we move to the sides to install the passive bass radiators. We apply a fresh bead of heavy-duty adhesive around the rim and press the iconic JBL exclamation mark discs into place. We smooth out the edges to ensure no air can escape, as this chamber must be completely pressurized. We are on the home stretch now, and it is time for the final cosmetic assembly. We take the thoroughly washed and repaired outer fabric mesh and carefully slide it over the body. We stretch it tight, clipping the retaining plastic borders into their tracks. The deep black mesh looks absolutely stunning against a freshly painted trim. Next, we reinstall the massive top handle, driving in the heavy bolts to secure it to the structural frame. Finally, we snap the clean rubber port cover onto the back. Just look at this device. It is completely unrecognizable from the mud-covered brick we started with. It looks like a premium, brand new speaker straight out of the retail box. The moment of truth has finally arrived. We press the power button, and instantly, the legendary JBL startup chime rings out clear and powerful. The Bluetooth LED flashes, and it pairs with our phone immediately. We put on a heavy bass track to give it a proper test. Just look at those side passive radiators vibrating wildly. The sound is incredibly crisp, and the bass punches hard with zero distortion. Our hard work has completely paid off. Thank you so much for sticking around for this extreme restoration. If you loved this video, please smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more satisfying repairs. See you next time.